Not sure if that's working. Is that working? Yeah, brilliant. Okay. Hi. So I'm Nobby, G0VJG, and come to talk about Wallis and Fortuna via Fiji. I don't know how to turn this to the next slide. There we go. Right, Wallis and Fortuna. Where are we? Sorry. Okay, why Wallis and Fortuna? Sorry, can I just grab my notes? Sorry, 1 second. Okay. Reason I wanted to go to Wallis is because of its rarity. When I was looking at it and planning it, it was 48 most wanted on the DXCC list for Europe, and it is also something I'd planned to go to before. It'd been on my wish list for a long time, so that was another reason. And also, I wanted to go somewhere that was going to be warm and a little bit of luxury for my good wife over there, Maxine, who came along. Wallis had a hotel. It's very basic, but it had a swimming pool and a reasonably good climate. So it sort of fitted all the criteria for holiday stroke DXpedition. So that was the reason for choosing Wallis, and also the lack of activity. I don't think anyone had been there and done anything serious for about 4 years. Okay, where is it? It's in the middle of nowhere. It's the nearest closest civilization is Fiji, really. It's quite a distance from most places. I've got some distances here somewhere. I think Japan is 7,800 kilometers away. California, the nearest part of California, is 8,400 kilometers away. Australia, which is local, is 5,000 kilometers away, and back to good old Brighty is 16,000 kilometers. So it's everything you work for there pretty much is DX. So that's the location. It's not an easy place to get to, and certainly not a cheap place to get to. The route, there's one or two different routes. The route we chose was from London Heathrow into Los Angeles, which was about a 12-hour flight, something like that. And then we sat around there for a few hours and flew straight into Nobby in Fiji, which is about another 12-hour flight. And then the place we chose to stay in Fiji was also quite a long drive. It was nearly a 3-hour drive. So I think it took us 34, it says on there, 34 hours door to door. So it is a stretch. So we was a little bit tired when we got there. How we split the trip up, we done 3 days in Fiji. And then we went off to for Wallis for 2 weeks. The reason we had 2 weeks in Wallis is because there isn't another option really. There's one flight a week, so you either go for a week or 2 weeks. And a week wasn't enough, and 2 weeks was probably too much, but that's what we went for. So we done 2 weeks, and then when we came back, we had another break in Fiji for another couple of days. The flight to Wallis is not too bad. It's only about 90 minutes, so it's only a short distance really from Fiji. That's the airport actually. It's a very pretty airport, as airports go. Equipment was a really massive issue on this trip, due to the weight of your baggage. You're only allowed 23 kilos on that last flight, and they say that they're very strict on it. You can't buy any extra luggage. All you can have is your 23 kilos. Because there's only one flight a week, there's lots of cargo going on there, you know, food stuffs and fish and all sorts of stuff going back. So lots of stuff on that plane. So they're very, very strict on this weight. So this was the big problem. So I was very keen to have everything lightweight and efficient. So I loaned a Yaesu FT857, which only weighs a couple of kilos. It's not the most ideal radio, but size and weight wise, and it does everything. So that done the job for the radio. And then the antenna was a big problem. I ummed and ahed and looked at 2 or 3 different options on the antenna. The hotel, which was the only decent location to operate from there that I could find, isn't anywhere near salt water. It's sort of in the middle of the island, so it needed to be a beam, and to find a beam to ship on a plane that doesn't weigh very much is a bit of a challenge. So I came up with this folding hex beam that I know 1 or 2 people have got. Not sure anyone here has got one, but they're quite useful. They only weigh 6 kilos, and when you fold them down, they go down to 1.2 meters. So it's almost like a very small 2-man tent. So you can get it on a plane okay. They're a little bit of a pig to put together. It says on the packet when it comes in a kit 6 to 8 hours, but I think the dot in the middle was a mistake, and it should say 68 hours, because I had a few problems fitting it together, but I got it done. And then once you've used it a few times, you get into the knack of doing it, because when you first open it up, it goes and it's like a giant spider web. But there is a technique to it, and after a few goes, it gets easier. And my good friend Mr. Dean there loaned me his 30-metre vertical ground plane, which worked all right on 30 for some data modes. And the only other antenna I took was a homebrew link dipole that I made, which covered all the bands as a sort of backup antenna, and I used that on 40 as well. I wanted an amplifier because the propagation was poor and it's such a remote location, but all the commercial amplifiers and my own amplifier are quite heavy, so I ended up getting a KL505, which is really a glorified CB amplifier. Really, it's not very good, but it's cheap, cheerful when it's very light. And to be fair, it held up really well, and it worked surprisingly well, and that runs somewhere close to about 300 watts. So that was my amp. And I bought a very lightweight PSU as well, which only weighed a couple of kilos. So in all, my equipment came to about 23 kilos, which was one set of luggage. I had an aluminium mast made from a guy in Poland, which weighed 8 kilos, and the hex beam was made to measure to fit in the top of that, and of course my laptop and interface. I've had lots of problems before taking equipment on holiday on DXpeditions, and I was told last time we went to Grenada, the woman at British Airways said, "Oh, if you was to put all this equipment in a golf bag, you wouldn't have any problems." So we tried it this time, and I couldn't believe it. It was like people, they see these golf clubs. "Oh, golf clubs, yeah, golf clubs over there," and we had no problems at all. So it's a great tip. Get yourself a golf bag. I bought a second-hand one, cost me 20 quid, and it saved me untold trouble. You know, it was almost throwaway for 20 quid, and it done the job. And you know, it was almost like a stealth antenna station. You know, they just accepted it and took it on. So yeah, that's it on the equipment side of things. Oh, and coax. Because of the weight, again, I only took 2 runs of coax, which was a real stretch. I took 30 metres and 20 metres of mini 8, again for the weight. And I say I weighed everything out, and I say I was bang on 23 kilos. That's a picture of the station. That's in Fiji. Even the Morse key there, I'm not a big Morse people, as everybody knows. My Morse is crap, but the little tiny Morse key that only weighed a couple of ounces, absolutely tiny. The 857, and that's the amp. It has a really good preamp on it, but it did pack up after a few days. But the actual amplifier kept working. So that's the full station now. I think there's another picture of it there. That's a picture of it in Wallis. So the hotel there was very basic. It was clean and tidy, but there's not too many mod cons. When we got there, the air conditioning, you need air conditioning. It's very, very humid, very hot. It sounded like a Boeing 747 going over. I think the noise was horrendous, and we complained to the hotel, and they said, oh, they get someone out, and they did. They got someone out the next day, and they tried to fix it, and they couldn't fix it. Oh, this is going to be terrible. You know, we either got to swelter or put up with the noise. And anyway, they came back. Oh, in the meantime, I gave it a big clump, and it started working fine. And the next day, the guy showed up with a brand new unit. Well, everything in Wallis is really, really expensive. I mean, I think tomatoes were £3 each. So I dread to think how much an air conditioning unit must have cost. It must cost thousands. So this guy showed up with it, and I'd fixed it by clumping it. But in the end, they did put it in. I said, because you know, it might go again, and then we'd be in trouble if we send them away. So we were saved with the air conditioning. Okay, the Albatross Hotel had nice gardens, and they're quite extensive size, and they're quite open. There's lots of room. There's clumps of bushes and trees here and there, but there's lots of room for antennas, which is one of the reasons for selecting it. They've got quite a bit of land there. That's the hex beam. So it wasn't very high. I say 7 metres high. Nowhere near the salt water, so it's quite inland there. But I couldn't believe how well it worked. It was a terrific antenna for a 2-element beam. Lightweight, it done a cracking job. No rotator. I just had to run out in the middle of the dark and trip over umpteen things. There's lots of holes. I don't know what these holes are, but I think there's something to do with distilling or something. They used to have these like metal drums, and they're all over the place. So to try not to fall in them. And Maxine looks like she's make use of my guy rope there for my 30-metre vertical. You can't see in that picture for drying the washing. Oh, incidentally, talking about washing, I took 5 kilos of clothes because of the radio. I had a carrier bag with a few T-shirts and a pair of shorts, a couple of pairs of socks, and that was about it. It really, so it was a carrier bag, and that was all I had. Hence the regular washing. Okay, another picture of the antenna. Yeah, licensing was fun. This guy here, Antonio, he really helped me out with the license for Fiji. I put an application in online, heard nothing, sent it in writing, heard nothing, sent more emails, heard nothing. So I thought, well, I'll try and get hold of one of the local guys. This guy's well known, lots of you probably worked him. He's a really smashing guy, really pleased, you know, to help. Nothing was a problem. So he got on. He lives quite nearby the licensing office. He went down there and jumped up and down, made some noise. He paid for my license, and it was all sorted in a matter of weeks. So he's a handy guy to know if you want a license there. So he really helped me a lot there. And that was the call sign they issued me, which had already been issued previously, a few years before, but I managed to get it off of qrz.com and got it up there, so there wasn't too much confusion with that. Then the licensing in Wallis is a very interesting story as well. I had some fun and games with that. Again, tried online application and telephone calls, umpteen emails, different email addresses, with no joy. So I got young Nigel over here to help assist me. He speaks French. Everybody there speaks French and not much else. Nigel tried phoning several times and few promises, but nothing really happened. So the upshot was in the end that we couldn't seem to get anything concrete. We'd already committed to this trip. We'd already booked our flights. They're not refundable, so we were going regardless of the licence. I spoke to some people that had been previously, and they said, you just got to go there to the office and make some noise and you'll get a licence. And that's what we did. We arrived, and the woman that runs the hotel there, she's quite elderly, doesn't speak any English whatsoever, and we had a hell of a job making her understand. But she phoned the guy that previously owned the hotel, Jack, and he speaks some English, quite good English. And he said, oh, I phoned the office now. So he phoned me back and he said, right, the guy is going to Fortuna tomorrow for a week. So if you want a licence, we've got to go right now. They're going to wait for us. So we jumped in the car. It's 8 kilometres away. There's no bus, no train, no taxis. So we rush down to the office. We get there, they've gone. Cleared off. So I was buggered now. But luckily, Nigel looked into it and discovered for me that it is actually part of the CEPT system. So you can run there your own UK call with the Fox Whiskey prefix. So I thought, well, I don't want to waste a whole day of activity. I'm keen to get on the air. The station's all set up. I'm ready to roll. I just haven't got a license. So that's what I did. The first night, I used Fox Whiskey, and I made 600 QSOs the first night. And the very next morning, Jack rang me and said he'd heard from the guy at the licensing office, and he said he's going in an hour and a half to Fortuna on the plane, and he won't be back for a week. So can we get down there straight away? So again, we shot back down there and went in the office, and it's all very, it's a real big thing. You go in the office and they get you a chair out, and there's 2 or 3 people there, and it's quite a big ceremony, and then they conjure you up with a license. So it all went smooth, and I did say to the guy, we've had lots of trouble, trying to contact you. And he said, oh yeah, he said the problem is, here it all goes to a central person to pass the emails around. He said a lot of it just goes in the bin. Most of the jobs there, I think over half or 2/3 of the jobs for the local people, there's 9,000 people living in Wallis, are government jobs. They're all admin jobs, and they're all jobs, creating jobs. So they have all these people and they don't seem to do anything. So yeah, that was interesting. But yeah, we got the license. As you can see, I'm all proud now. I got my license, so that's why I changed the call sign. So I operated the two different call signs from there. Propagation. Yeah, when we was in Fiji, the propagation was absolutely dire. It was really hard work. I mean, there were times I weren't hearing any signals at all. We was on the south side of the island, which is not a great spot to be for working back to Europe. There was a big mountain in the way, but the solar flux was quite low, 67, probably what it is now. It was really rough, but I did manage a few QSOs back to G. I think about 20 in 3 days. It wasn't very many. I think it says a bit further, and I think I made about 900 QSOs from there, and about half of them were FT8, which I'm not a big fan of, but I am a realist, and I knew it was going to be very difficult, so I thought I'd have to take the FT8 system and try that, and it did work all right. So so that was a sort of propagation there. It was really, really hard. But that 20-metre path, I looked for that every evening. And, I did get some European stations from there. When I went to Wallis, that solar flux jumped up. Someone was looking out for me. It jumped up to 76, and that made a phenomenal difference. That 10, I couldn't believe how much difference it made. The 20-metre path there, I looked for that every night. It was our meal time, pretty much. It was dark there, and it almost, if someone switched it on every night, I'd come on, get on there for 8 o'clock, and sure enough, within a few minutes I'll be working Europeans. And used to start off, the Scandinavians always seemed to get the cream of it. The OHs were like they were down the end of the road, 5 and 9 plus. You couldn't believe what fantastic signals they were putting in, and sugar mics, and then the ONs, and then a few scratchy Gs. So I quite often used to say, can everyone QRX, and can we work some Gs? And it did work. I pulled out some real weak signals, and I think in all I made about 160 something QSOs into G, which I was really, really pleased with. So I was expecting to get none, so I was quite happy with that. And I say a couple of people reported that sometimes I was audible up to 3 hours. I think someone put that somewhere on a website somewhere, so that was quite pleasing. With a fairly simple lowish power station, I was quite happy with the results. And also what I found was I used to come on SSB first. As I said, I'm not big on CW. I only made 7 QSOs in CW, and they was all skeds. I'd come on do phone for a couple of hours. And then when it started to die out and I was really struggling to pull stations in, I'd switch over and get another hour's worth on FT8. Also, the propagation, by the way, at the same time, that path is also very good to JA. So, of course, they kept calling, but to be fair, they were very, very good. I used to say to them, look, you know, please QRX, this time's for Europe path, because you can work JA for there pretty much most of the time. But they all seemed to come up then, but they was so well behaved, and they left me alone and let me work the European stations. Okay, so that's picture of the island. There's a reef all the way around the island. You can see the line around the edge there. There's no sandy beach or nice beach on Wallis. It's all quite rocky and rough looking. There are some really lovely beaches. There's some pictures later on the little islets. I think there's about 9 main ones scattered around the edge of the reef, and they're really beautiful, like proper picturesque with the palm trees and white sand. They look very nice. If you see the top of the map there, that HIFO right at the top there, that's pretty much where the I think there's a little thing here, yeah, up here somewhere. I don't know if you can see that strip there. That's the airport, and the hotel is just there, just below the airport. So it's sort of, as you say, nowhere near the coast. It's probably about a mile. It's quite small. I think it's 55 square miles. The island in total. Okay, there's a few stats. I worked. These are just for Wallis and for tuna stats. Yeah, I worked 159 Gs as against 909 JAs. So the JAs you could work all the time. Just in the Fox Whiskey 5 Juliet Golf log, I worked 85 DXCCs, so I didn't quite get DXCC, but that wasn't too bad, I guess. And in total, I made on 20 meters just doing the Fox Whiskey 2,931 Qs. So there's a little breakdown of what I worked. That's interesting. The dupe list. If you have a look, no G's on there. Look, that's good. I don't quite know how some of them I think what the problem was with the dupes. I had a problem uploading the log. The internet there was really poor. There was internet, Wi-Fi, but it used to drop out and didn't work at all, and it was really bad. And I just couldn't upload the logs. I tried to upload logs every day, and to Charles get him to put the logs up, and most days it wouldn't work. So I reckon about every 2 to 3 days we managed to get a log upload, and I suppose people were looking at it and seeing that it's not coming up, and trying to get through again. So that was the main problem with that. Someone was asking me about noise earlier, by the way. Noise levels. The noise level there's fantastic. There is no noise. On 20 meters, it's 0, which is like amazing. So you could hear really piddly weak stations sometimes. The only time I had a problem with noise is when it got dark, and they had some floodlights overlooking the pool, 2 floodlights, and then it was S7. But say 9 times out of 10, we was the only ones in the hotel, and they just said, like, you know, just turn them off. So I switched those off. And we had a problem. There was another strip light in the restaurant. They got a little tiny restaurant there, and that's an LED strip. I've never seen them before, but they're 6 foot long, full of LEDs, and that caused QRM. We had to leave that on because that was the only light left in the restaurant. But that actually was bad for a few minutes, and then it would get better, and it would almost disappear to nothing once it warmed up. So it wasn't too bad. Okay, yeah, that's just a breakdown of a few more of the QSOs. Again, this is all just Fox Whiskey call. Okay, oh, there it is, yeah, 55 square miles. So the official language is French. We didn't find too many people speaking English. We were very lucky that the second week we were there, the cook in the hotel was speaking some English, which was very useful because ordering the meals was quite fun. One night the hotel said, "You're the only ones here, you know, we would like to close tonight. Would you mind going out and eating somewhere else?" I mean, there's nowhere in walking distance. I mean, the nearest place is 8 kilometres away. So we booked a meal in one of the other. There's only very few hotels there. There's probably only about 4 hotels on the island. So we booked in a restaurant in another hotel. I think it's the biggest hotel on the island. And what tends to happen in the restaurants there, you have what they've got. There isn't a menu. This is what you're getting. So when we got there, they had hummus. Was it, Max? What was it? Hummus? Oh, couscous and fish. Well, I don't. It's not really. I'm a meat man, and so I said, "Well, have you got anything else?" And they didn't understand. And I was trying to say, "Well, what about steak?" "Ah, steak. Yeah, we got steak." "Oh, I love it. I'll have steak then." And you wanted what did you have? Yeah, you had the fish. So when it come up, I had a steak on a plate and a couple of tiny bits of lettuce leaf. That was it. And then you had the same. You had a piece of fish, just a raw piece of fish with a tiny little bit of lettuce, and that was their idea of a meal. So that was quite. We sort of looked at it. "Is that it?" But yeah, that was very interesting. But that's the currency is CFP. So I was saying earlier about how expensive it is there. I mean, just the prices were ridiculous. Everything was through the roof. I think a pint of beer, if there's any big drinkers here, don't go there. It was about £10 a pint, so you weren't going to get languid. So a good excuse to get back on the radio, leave off the drink and get back on the air. Okay, hope. Well, I don't know. To be honest, we did ask about the prices there, and they said that the locals get very well paid. Apparently, because the French are very keen to keep that colony and area under their protection, they pay very, very good wages to all the government workers. They have a very good hospital there. We was quite worried about, you know, what the medical care was going to be if anything happened. But one of the women we were speaking to there, who's the chef's mother, she speaks a bit of English, and she said the hospital's first class. They don't pay for teeth, hearing aids, glasses, any medical thing is all covered for them. They don't pay no road tax, they don't pay no income tax. So they all absolutely love the French. They won't say a bad word about the French because they're really well looked after. So... Okay, yeah, I don't know if you can see that in the background there. That's my fishing mast. It's a 10-metre fiberglass pole, which I also took. That's another kilo. I used that to put the link diapole on, or rather the 30-metre ground plane. I couldn't have both up because I didn't have enough coax. So what I tended to do is put one antenna up for a couple of days and then whip it down in a day and change it for the second day. As you can see, there's blue sky there. We had a real mixed bag of weather there. It was generally hot, humid and sunny, but we also had some huge downpours and a thunderstorm. I think only one day it rained all day, didn't it? Really hard all day. I mean, when it rains there, it does rain. As you can see, it's quite lush and green. Oh dear. There you go. So there was a really nice swimming pool there, which was quite a bonus. That was more than we was expecting. I think it's recently been renovated, but that was good. Was a little bit shocked when we arrived in Wallis. The hotel looked like it was boarded up. There was no sign of life. It was all locked up. And so then we found this little old lady living in one of the apartments out the back, and she came along, and that's when the fun and games started with the language. But we got our took us to our bungalow there, which is the same one that Nigel had. Yeah, the same picture's still on the wall 20 years later, and the picture is still there. And so I said, "Oh, is there a key?" She said, "Oh, no keys. We don't have keys. There's no keys." But I think crime there is almost zero. I think there's very, very little crime. I think the only thing they have trouble with is drink. I think some of the locals get on the terp sometimes. They like a party. There's a house behind, maybe 150 metres, 100 metres behind the room there, and they seem to have the music blaring out night and day. Oh, they like a church. That's a cathedral there, but everywhere you go there is churches. For such a small population, I say the population was 9,000. There's 3,000 in Fortuna, the other island. I don't know how many churches they have, but it's a lot. Actually, everywhere you go, there's a church, and they're big. The churches are really big. I mean, they must hold hundreds and hundreds of people. So, how they fill them all up, I don't know. But they're quite nicely done. A lot of them. We had a visit to one. Didn't we? Only went to one, and they're well kept. They have 3 kings there, by the way. They don't have a governor as such. They have 3 kings. There's three different regions. This cathedral's right next to one of the palaces there. Okay, that's a picture of one of the islets we visited. We went for the day, and the boat guy charged us 40 quid to take us out there, and it was one of the most far out ones. It was right on the edge, and it was really lovely. And Max said, "Well, that's a lot, 40 quid just to get out." I said, "Well, you've got a desert island to yourself for a whole day for 40 quid as a bargain." So it was lovely. It was really nice. It was beautiful. So we had a nice day on the beach. Sea's lovely and warm. So that was a sort of a half non-radio day. There's a picture of me operating the shack in Wallis. That's a view from the top of the hotel. So the hotel wasn't used a huge amount. There was so it's right close to the airport. So you often used to get military personnel come there. So you might get 6 or 9 guys show up and be there for a day or two, and then there would only be us. There was one guy was a pilot, was staying there. And so that was it. So it's very quiet. I mean, I think it's just ticking along the hotel. I don't think they're doing particularly well, but they seem to be just about keeping their head above water. And that's the gardens there. So lots of land around there. Lots of room for top band antennas, if anyone's going. And there's a few photos from Fiji. They have some really tall palm trees here, so it wasn't really there long enough, but the guy we stayed in, we had these huge, I think they're called a Fijian giant palm or something, but they are absolutely huge. And the guy said, you know, if I'd known, I could have arranged someone to come around and climb that and stick an antenna up it for you for a couple of dollars. So I wish we had done that, but I didn't really have the equipment with me. But we was in a place called Pacific Harbour. It's quite nice. There's not much there. There's lots of big private villas there, but it's a little bit of a downturn there. I think there's lots of properties for sale. The place we stayed in, our villa wasn't available when we first got there. They said there was a problem. The pool pump had broken, so they put us in this villa there on the right, and it was huge. That was again several bedrooms. It was fantastic. It was quite a nice upgrade. So, and it was right on a saltwater creek. So I stuck my antenna up right next to salt water, but it didn't do a lot to help really. I think that it was beyond doubt. The propagation was so poor. I think there's an antenna, and you can't see it very well, but that's the wire antenna with a link dipole on it, just on the side of the bungalow there. And just a nice derelict boat shop. Okay, yeah. So you can see the saltwater lagoon there. It's very big for diving in Fiji. There's a diving school just along the road there, and the boat used to chug past every day. So it was about as close I could get it to the water, but I thought it might help a bit, but it's probably just not enough water. Okay, Charles, who's here somewhere, was a huge help. Is he here somewhere? Has he gone? Oh, he's over there. Yeah, he was a big help to me. We kept in regular contact through WhatsApp, and he put out lots of information, you know, letting people know where I was going to be around, what I was doing, keeping people informed. And of course he organised all my QSL stuff, which he's done a first class job of, which went really, really well. So if anyone needs a card, I haven't got one yet, get in quick, he hasn't got many left. Incidentally, did many people in here work with me? I'll be interested to know if there's many people here with me. Oh, quite a few then. Oh, that's good. Good show, excellent, good. Well, I'm glad you all managed to work me.
I needed sort of worker as well to work in
Uh-huh.
the car. You know, I was 100 metres from the Irish Sea. That's the old water.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. There certainly is a secret weapon. So I'd love to have been near the salt water, but there just wasn't anywhere that I could find that was going to be suitable. Someone did say there is a guy who's got a place up right on the north of the island on the coast there. I think it's actually the guy that does the radio licenses, I think. One of the Hungarian guys said that he's got a spot up there, but it didn't have the pool or the restaurant, so that was the sort of, because it was a family holiday as well, we sort of decided we'd go for an actual hotel. But to be fair, the food was very good. Lots of fish. If you like fish, you're all right. It was fish or rump steak. I think I had rump steak 3 days on the trot. I like a steak, but I must admit I did get a bit fed up with it after 3 days. And I really don't like fish. And then they dished me up raw tuna one day. Oh yes, yeah, that's not me. I didn't like it. But lucky enough, there was another regular resident there, the cat. I can't remember what his name was. How was he called? I can't remember his name now. But this cat, Albatross. Oh yeah, off the hotel. This albatross cat came along every night. So I said, Andy, I've got to lose this fish. I can't not eat it. It's rude. So I'm off the edge of the table, and it was gone. That was the end of that. So yeah, we had a friend for life there, an old albatross. Every night he was sitting there waiting for us. Okay, that's the QSL card. I took that photo. That's on the way out, on the way home. That's one of the islets there. You can see the reef all the way around the edge. Oh, this lady on the right hand side there. What was her name again?
Susanna.
That's it, Susanna. Yeah, she was absolutely mad, absolutely mad. So she said to us, "Well, if you want, I'll take you for a drive around the island." So we said, "Oh, okay, lovely." So we wanted to go and see. They got a volcano there, and it's like a lake. It's filled in with water. So we wanted to go and see that. I can't remember what it's called, Laplulo or something. So anyway, we went out with her to see that, and just like the driving is appalling. But no, she was a strange lady. Incidentally, we wanted to hire a car. There's very few places to hire a car, so we organised the car before we went on the internet. And then when we got there, the car never showed up, and we asked some of the locals, and no one had ever heard of this guy. And then someone said, "Oh, he's gone bankrupt." So, but the hotel said, "We got a car. You can use our car." So I said, "Oh, really?" So I said, "Yeah, it's over there." I said, "Just take it." So I said, "Is there any paperwork I've got to sign anything?" "Oh, no paperwork." So I said, "So what do we do about, tax and insurance?" And, "Oh, no, I don't have insurance." So, "Well, no insurance?" "Oh, don't worry about insurance or tax." So I said, "Well, where's the key?" She said, "Oh, it's in it." So so we did use it a few times. It was quite handy actually. I mean, it was only an old banger, but yeah, they were quite generous with that. They didn't charge us a penny for that as well. So they just said it's a free gift. Okay, so that's the back of the card. Again, that was our our day out on the beach. So it was cracking there. The sea's beautiful. It's lovely and warm. Okay, there's a few little thank yous. I say Antonio, who done the licensing, and Nigel. They really helped me a lot and gave me some good steers. Toby, M0TBS, for the loan of the 857. And Susanna, say our guide, she took us out a couple of times and looked after us, give us a lot of pointers. Charles for doing the cards and being the pilot. And of course, with my YL there, if she hadn't have come, I'd never got the linear there and the beam. So it's a good reason to take her along. That's right. I was thinking about going back and doing a bigger DXpedition with a bigger amplifier, but I need 2 wives if I'm going to do that. Get their allowance. So yeah, thanks for the people that helped me out with that. So that's it.
Thanks, Nobby. Look at that, spot on time as well. Well done. Any questions? Well, I've got one actually. Were you using Fox and Hounds on FT8 or just?
I use both actually.
Yeah.
I had 2 systems. I had the what's it called? Yeah, and Fox Hounds. So I switched between the both just to see how I got on with them. But they was both good systems. So,
yeah, interesting.
Yeah, half the QSOs were FT8.
Yeah,
and I say it's not really my thing, but I knew that it might have to be a must. So that was all right.
Dave.
Did I see a low pass filter?
Oh, you did, yes, I know.
In between the rig and the amplifier.
The reason for that was because the linear has got no filters in it or anything. It is a cheap and cheerful amplifier, and also being so close to the airport, I was probably a few hundred meters from the control tower, and I was just a little bit worried that if I was beaming that way, a control tower might get some issues. But to be fair, it was not really much of a worry because the airport only opens 1 day a week. I was desperate for Wi-Fi one day. I thought, oh no, if I stroll down the airport, I'll be able to get some Wi-Fi there because they had Wi-Fi there. I went down, it's like a ghost town. There's like tumbleweed blowing down the runway. There's just nothing. So it's not open much.
Anything else? Thanks very much, Nobby.
But, great, thanks.